Hello everyone, Zelrant here, and today I noticed that this morning they have a new post on Discord for the details of the expansion keys that are coming for Lena and Mosin-Nagant. Now, if you remember in a video a few days ago, they had come out with some of the details on the expansion keys, but they had buffs that we didn't know the exact details of that kind of give us an indication of how good these expansion keys were going to be. But now we got more of the details. Now we don't have the hard numbers, but having looked through the actual the Girls Frontline Discord and people's discussions, you can get a good idea of what it is providing to the electric team. And then tomorrow we will get the CN will actually get the patch. We'll get even more with the actual ingrained numbers, as well as all the stuff regarding Leva and what she can provide. So we can start getting a better picture of where Lightning is going to be in terms of the meta and whether or not you're going to want to plan for pulling them in the future. And while we know none of them are coming up in the near future of Wrestling Global because we have the next 4 characters known, it's very likely they could come right after for all we know. And this might be the time where you want to really save up, especially if you're wanting to get dupes on any of the characters, if you want to go heavy into the electric team. And when looking at Lena's key, that may be the case for a lot of people. Lena was originally going to be an easy skip. I've always said I liked the character, her entire kit, and I really wanted to see what her expansion key was going to do because of everything that she already had in her kit. And now we'll go ahead and take a look at this expansion key because it looks pretty insane for Lena. So Lena has Lion's Resolve, and so after using Ultimate Skill Hunting Strategy, and if you remember V0 Lena's hunting strategy, it has a 6-turn cooldown. It's going to be similar to Klukai's in the sense that you do have the ability to lower it with dupes, but without that at V0, it does have a 6-turn cooldown. So know that this lasts for 3 turns. I don't know if it says it specifically here, but she gets a buff that only lasts for 3 turns. Since she can cast her ult every 6 turns, it's a buff that basically is up 50% of the time at V0. So after casting Ultimate Skill Hunting Strategy, Lena gains Light of Victory, increasing all electric allied units' stability damage. So right there's a big one right on it all. All electric allied units stability damage. And so that means she's going to be core into a mono electric team, which we have tons of electric units that'll be available at this point in CN. So stability damage is huge because once you get them broken, that is really good. But not only does it do that, it also fixed damage dealt when triggering a negative charge is doubled. So now you're doubling the fixed damage that negative charge does, which we have within like Belka's kit as well as others. And then also when triggering voltage tile reactions, gains electric up 2. Now that's the one where people are still unknown on how it's working, but people are saying it could be just a buff for Lena herself versus a buff for team-wide. And if it's team-wide, it would be insane. But I'm going to go under the assumption on be conservative on how good this is and say it only applies to Lena. And that way we can just kind of get a worst case scenario based on what we're reading here. Looking at the numbers without even taking that one into consideration, the triggering the negative charge being doubled here as well as stability damage, what I've seen is people are saying this is basically a 30% damage amp across the board on the electric team that I can see, or about that on some of the calculations. So a 30% increase to damage on electric team overall, and that is huge. And from what I can see is it'll be even bigger if this electric up 2 goes to the entire team. Right now I'm going to guess just Lena because people are saying this is getting to Springfield's level of damage amp with this one, maybe even surpassing it to a certain extent if this is team wide. But if that's just to herself, she's going to be able to do great damage herself as well with this expansion key. But if she can provide it the whole team, they're all just going to go get pretty insane. And we'll have to actually see the numbers tomorrow when they actually start coming up with the calcs. And the nice thing is, I mean, we don't even know what Rebella is going to have as an electric unit and what she provides to the team yet. But this expansion key is, for no shadow of a doubt, making Lena a core member of the electric team. If you want to build the electric team, you are going to want to get Lena. Now, one big thing with this, like I said, is the ultimate is a 6-turn cooldown, so this only has a 50% uptime. So what this expansion key is effectively making Lena, she's going to be, to me, similar to, well, she is a support, so I'm going to kind of compare her to Vector, where everybody's saying you want to get the V1 Vector, because V1 Vector is where you get that extra support action for burn units, which now applies to Sharkri as well as Shangzhou and all of them. This one's going to be kind of a similar thing with Lena, where you're going to actually want to get that first dupe on her. And if we take a look at it here, I actually have it already highlighted. So as we know, we're not going to go into her kit here because she's not coming out anytime soon for us. I don't want to go in the whole kit. I'm just kind of explaining why she's going to be kind of another vector in terms of how much she provides. It's because she has that 6-turn cooldown, which is kind of it's a long time to be able to do it again, but that applies that buff now, which will last for 3 turns. But if you see her first one here on V1, for every 3 points of Confectance Index consumed, reduces the cooldown of all skills by 1 turn. And that is what is going to be key to being able to reduce this to a more sustainable buff for the entire team. And when it comes to using Confectance Index, that's not a problem really at all for her. The thing is gaining the Confectance Index, but all of her skills will burn it. So if you look at her one skill here, before skill activations, if she has more than 3 skill points, she consumes them to do more damage. So she has built into her skills consumes 3. So if she has more than 3 Confectance Index points, she will consume them with the skills, meaning her V1 is going to be a very, very easy way to reduce this down and basically have her ultimate cast every 3 turns versus every 6 turns, making it where you can have this buff up 100% of the time. And with how much of a damage increase it is, I think that is going to be a key point for a lot of people if you want to go heavily into the electric team, is to get that Lena V1. And so that is what I'm seeing with her expansion key here. Now, it doesn't have numbers here, but you can kind of read it. Electric up 2, you just think you can compare it to vulnerability 2, which we already know, 20%. So we can see that as being that, a 20% damage increase for electric damage. And with this one, you can see fixed. This is the one where I've seen the most on terms of calcs, that it's about a 30% damage increase across the board for electric team right there. And then just having that extra stability damage is going to make it easier to break enemies. And it's going to be really good just for your mono electric, because all electric units are doing increased stability damage. So that one is huge there. But then you have this one right here. For every point of Confectance Index consumed, which I showed you, she can consume a lot. Increases Lena's attack for the next round. She's going to have... So Lena's going to start being able to do decent damage on her own with this, because she is going to be able to consume a lot of Confectance Index points within her kit. And then after using Active Skill, Leaping Pursuit increases the damage multiplier of the attack executed during extra command. And so that's just one of her skills. We don't have to really go into that, but it's just more damage for her. Overall, her expansion key is huge, bringing her up to the top. And I've seen, depending on what it comes out to, comparing her to a Springfield in terms of value, a Springfield V1 versus a Lena V1. She's going to be that Springfield, but for the electric team, from everything we can see here. So that is absolutely great. Now, that's good news on these expansion keys, but Mosin Nagant is kind of, when we take a look at this, it's not what I was hoping for with her. In terms of, we already have the problem in the electric team that we're going to have, I think, 7 electric units that are elites. So, you're going to have to drop some off. And of course, the standard units, usually when it comes to these games, going to be the weakest of the bunch, because you want your newer ones to be better. And so, there's not much you could do with Mosin Nagant that, if you did make her really broken, would then mean you have to take one of the limited units and not use them. So, I can see it makes sense, but the big negative thing is you really still want V4 or V6 for Mosin Nagant to be good. And that is, when you look at her expansion key, when allied units attempt to apply paralysis to a target, which is the part we already knew, she applies Electric Spark to the target. Now we know what the actual buff is, which is increases electric damage they take from Mosin Nagant. Electric damage taken from Mosin Nagant. As we already know, you really don't start getting that electric damage from her, especially on her support actions, until V4, and then you're not even able to do her support actions reliably until V6. Now, this could make her do a lot of damage. The big thing is you need V4 and eventually V6 for it to really matter, and we don't even know if this is going to bring her up to a level to make her comparable to the limiteds at all either. And then effect is treated as a paralyze effect. So, it's going to be So this is going to make it where it's going to be able to apply to bosses and stuff. So she can do big damage. You're just going to want to get V4 and V6. Now, the one nice thing I say is she is a standard unit. So, I mean, we have the same situation with Xiangzhou and Sharkly. You want to get V3 on Xiangzhou, but Xiangzhou is good without being V3. It's her V3 makes her work really well with Sharkly. So it's a little bit more unique there. Hers is she pretty much wants V4 to be good. So if you're wanting to invest in Electric Team and you see this with Mosin Nagant, just know maybe you want to start saving your standard pulls to eventually invest in getting her V4 and eventually V6 down the line once we start getting the electric units. Because this is definitely probably going to make her do decent damage. And one thing it can open up, even though I think all the other limited units are going to be better options for your teams, she could make it where you have the opportunity to skip one. Maybe you skip Belka, for example, because Belka's a DPS, and she becomes your other DPS alongside Aleva, Robella, Andrus, and Lena. Maybe that's your team, and that's one thing you can use. You can use your standard tickets to kind of fill one of those gaps in your electric team if you're wanting to conserve your targeted pulls, and that'll also make it a little bit easier to get dupes on units, like getting that one dupe on Lena and all that. So I think Mosin Nagant still has her value, and this is going to bring her up in terms of damage, but you're definitely still going to have to invest in her to get dupes when you look at this expansion key. But overall, not the worst it can be. I mean, it is what it is. All the standard units are going to fall off eventually when we have more than 5 of each element. You don't want the standard units being better than them in a general case. And you eventually want new units to be added to the standard banner, as we've seen with Faye. So, I mean, it is what it is there. She'll still be a great unit and someone that can fill gaps. If you want to heavily invest in her and get her dupes, you can with standard tickets. But yeah, that's pretty much everything here. It's looking pretty good. I'm actually really excited now for Lena. I want to see what Leva brings to the team with her dupes and all that. Because there is one thing that I could change my mind on. I may want to not go heavily investing in the Springfield because I plan to get V6 in Springfield. But I may only go V1 in Springfield and kind of make that a hybrid corrosion team that I have together there. And then maybe heavily invest in electric if electric ends up being really good. I want to kind of find a unique... I don't want to just go do the meta teams. I want to do the teams I like as well. And I'm kind of liking the way electric's shaking up. But it just really depends on, future units that we see with CN, because it's kind of in between electric and physical. We'll just have to see. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.